Welcome to the Big Picture Retirement Show, where you'll learn what it really takes to have a successful retirement. With over 20 years of experience, your host, Rick Rivera of Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has seen it all and is here to help you achieve your retirement dreams. This is the Big Picture Retirement Show.
Welcome into the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. I'm Mark Elliott. Glad you're with us. Rick is a partner at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, has over 20 years experience in the financial industry. And Rick and Reed and Eddie and the team at Safeguard are really here to help guide you when it comes to your retirement. If you'd like to find out more, you can always go to the website, information there about events that they have coming up, but you can find out about the team as well. A lot of great information on the website, safeguardinvestment.com, safeguardinvestment.com. 800-700-1980 is the number. No cost, no obligation, no pressure to chat with Rick and the team at Safeguard. 800-700-1980. All right, Rick, I'm going to play you a little music. Let's see if you know who sang this.
Diamond Coke, Jamaica, ooh, I wanna take you to Bermuda, Bahama, come on, pretty mama, Key Largo.
All right, you got a name? You got a band?
Is that Beach Boys?
The Beach Boys. The Beach Boys. Now, you're going, why are you playing that when we're talking retirement? Well, here's the deal. That song, Key Largo, Montego, all that kind of stuff, we're going to go on vacation today, okay? We're going to compare a vacation, the planning you do for that, to retirement. Well, studies out there say that most people will spend more time planning that 2-week vacation than they will planning that 20 to 30 plus year retirement. So it doesn't really make sense, does it, Rick?
No. And I would agree with that. I see that all the time, unfortunately.
So here you go. Think about it. Let's say we're going to go to the Bahamas. I like the Bahamas. I've been there one time. I like it, maybe because I don't speak Spanish or anything. So if we go to Mexico, something like that, I have a little more of a language barrier. But if I go to the Bahamas, it's English speaking and it's beautiful. The weather's great. Golf is fun. Ocean's fun. All that kind of stuff. So let's say we're going to go to the Bahamas. All right. So you need your passport. You need your ID. You need your tickets. You need your luggage. So you've got to plan for that. You've got to strategize. Okay, what all do I need to take on this trip? I've got to have the airline, the hotel, all that kind of stuff set up. That's kind of what you need to do when you get into retirement. It's kind of like, okay, I'm 5 years out from retirement. What do I need to be putting in place when it comes to my retirement as well? There should be some pre-planning in there, shouldn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And it's funny that you're using this as an analogy because, people will plan out the activities and all that and spend hours and hours doing that for vacations and trips. But when it comes to their retirement planning, you're right, they put little or no effort into it. And that because it's just something that, for most people, the topic is very boring or they just procrastinate and everything, life just goes by. And when it comes to their retirement planning, it's more of a, for lack of better terminology, willy-nilly situation. They're just kind of like just doing things willy-nilly in the sense that, I heard I should be putting away 10% or certain percentages, or they read certain general rules of thumb on the internet and just kind of go along. But there's no planning, there's no direction, there's no goal, there's no objectives. It's just done willy-nilly. And unfortunately, when it comes time for them to retire, they find out, oh, wait a minute, there's a lot of pieces here that are missing. Or there's a lot of things that I could have been doing earlier on to set myself up much better. So, yeah, that analogy that you use is actually a perfect analogy.
So let's say that someone, Rick, isn't quite ready to speak with, a team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group yet, right? They're not quite ready for that conversation because they're not on the doorstep of retirement, but maybe it's 5 to 8 years away or something. But they want to take an inventory of the decisions that they're going to need to make in retirement. Is there something that you can provide them with maybe to help give them a head start into this kind of pre-planning?
Absolutely. We have just the thing. What they can do is text the word toolkit, TOOL, kit, KIT, to the number 951-667-4969. Again, that number is 951-667-4969. And if they text the word toolkit to that number, they'll get our retirement guide and also get access to a webinar that we've done. Actually, my partner Reed, he did a 30-minute webinar. It's a condensed version of the workshop that I do that'll give them a lot of good information. And then after they get that information, watch the webinar, see, look at the retirement guide. If they choose that, hey, listen, you know what, maybe I need to sit down with somebody to get a little bit more finer detail on my situation, there'll be some options for them to do that. But I think a great start would be to, again, text the word toolkit to 951-667-4969, the word toolkit, and they'll get a lot of good information just right from there.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So text the word toolkit 951-667-4969 for the retirement guide, the webinar with Reed. And then if you have questions, you can always call the team afterwards, but that's a way to get started. You can always give them a call to 800-700-1980. So we're not to the Bahamas yet. We're on our way, though, to the Bahamas. So now we've got to book our airline. So here's the deal. Are you going to fly first class, where you get special foods and drinks and all of that? Or are you going to be like me, sitting back in coach, where somebody's going to be kicking you from the back? Wait, you can't put your seat back, or they put their seat back into your lap. You just got to deal with it. So you think about it, though, if you're going to go first class, you got to have the money to be able to afford that. So I guess the question really is, a lot of people have is, well, how much do I need to be able to retire comfortably? And the challenge for you, Rick, would be, well, you don't know how long we're going to live. You don't know if we're going to have health issues, and everybody's income needs are different. So that number, I suppose, is different for everyone.
Yes, exactly. It's going to be individualized, because what you have to realize, folks, listening to the show, is that there's a variety of factors that come into play. Number one, when are you retiring? Are you retiring early? Some people can actually retire at 55 or, before 60. Others are retiring at 65 or 70. The other thing that comes into play when it comes to figuring out what your needs are going to be is, hey, what are your objectives in retirement? Do you actually want to travel? What is your lifestyle going to be? And some people actually may need to take care of elderly parents, or, maybe they have a special needs child. There's so many factors that come into play when it comes to your retirement planning, what's going to be the sweet spot for you, what your right number is going to be. But because we specialize in this area, and we've seen literally over the past 2 decades, we've seen thousands and thousands of individuals, in a retirement-centric arena, that we can actually share ideas that other clients have done that are in the same situation that you're in, what they've done in order to make sure that all your goals and objectives are matched. So I guess basically what we can do is sit down with you, figure out what your objectives are. But then if there's things that maybe you haven't even thought about before that you should be made aware of, we can make you aware of those things as well. Because there's many times where I'll sit down with a client or a potential client, and they'll tell me, hey, Rick, here's my goals, here's my objectives, here's what I'm trying to accomplish. And we'll talk about that. But then I'll also say, hey, here are some other things outside of that you may want to consider. That way, there is no surprises for you when it comes to retirement planning. You're not going to get blindsided by anything, because this is the area that we specialize in.
All right, final thing before we jump on the plane. So now you're going to be trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do when we get there? So a lot of times you pre-plan those excursions. You're going to go swim with the pigs if you're in the Bahamas. Maybe you're going to go scuba diving, like that's what Rick would do, certainly. So what do you want to do? You've got a plan for those. Well, you've also got to have the budget to be able to do that. So a lot of times people come in and they're not really sure if they have enough. And sometimes they have plenty. They just don't realize it because they've never sat down with a retirement planning team like Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. What if we are a little shy, though, but we really want to retire maybe physically? We just can't work anymore. Maybe we got laid off. What do we do if we're a little shy?
If you're saying if you're
shy of income, that we probably need to be in a perfect scenario, we're not quite there.
Okay, well then what we need to do is we need to have a realistic conversation. There's scenarios where we'll sit down with like I saw somebody the other day, and they're basically in retirement with their pensions and Social Security. They're virtually living paycheck to paycheck. So what we needed to do is we needed to sit down with them and have a hard discussion and say, okay, where is the income going? What are the expenses? Are there areas that we can actually get rid of or mitigate, or, in order to create the buffer that you're going to need? And sometimes, let's face it, some people, I run into somebody and they're living in a $1.5 million home. There's $300,000 maybe on the mortgage, and they're trying to maintain this home. And you know what? If they sold it, downside, paid cash for something else, they could live a much more comfortable lifestyle. I mean, there's so many different variables and so many different options. But again, this is where we can sit down with an individual, look at their overall situation, dive in deep into their expenses, into their income, look at the investments, look at everything, and say, okay, here are some realistic things that you may be able to do. in order to get you to where you need to be. But there's no magic bullet. It's going to require action and in some cases discipline on your part in order to get it done.
Well, that's no fun.
No.
Discipline, but we need it, right? So,
Right.
so here's your deal. We're talking about today. We're going to the Bahamas on a little vacation. And the studies say that people spend more time planning that 2-week vacation than that 20, 30-year retirement. So that's what we're talking about. We're comparing travel to retirement. And so if you think about it, all of us need a plan. All of us need different levels of income. There's all challenges we're going to have. We don't know how long we're going to be here because if we're here 5 years, we're here 30 years. That's a pretty big difference. Our money's got to last, obviously, 25 years longer for one of the 30-year retirees. So there's a lot of moving parts. That's where sitting down with somebody that works in the retirement world is so important. It's a great opportunity for you to sit down with the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group and Rick Rivera. There's no cost for this. It is 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. No cost, no obligation, no pressure. Rick and the team are here to help if they can. 800-700-1980. When we come back, we're getting on the plane for the Bahamas. Stay with us. Back with more with Rick Rivera right here on the Big Picture Retirement Show.
You're listening to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. For more information about Rick and the Safeguard Investment Advisory Group team, go to safeguardinvestment.com. While you're there, you can also download educational retirement guides and sign up for an upcoming seminar. That's safeguardinvestment.com. Now, back to the podcast.
Welcome back to the Big Picture Retirement Show with Rick Rivera. Rick, a partner at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group. Again, you can find out more on the website, safeguardinvestment.com. You have questions about where you are on that road to retirement, 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. I'm Mark Kelly. Glad you're with us. So today, if you're just joining us, we're taking a trip to the Bahamas. We're going on a nice trip, a vacation. But you've got to plan it, right? The airline, the tickets, the passports, all those kind of things you need. What do we need to pack? Well, it's going to be warm. You just got to plan on what you're going to do. Then what are you going to do when you get there? You're going to swim with the pigs? You're going to do scuba diving? What are you going to do? So all of that is part of this. Well, now we're ready to get on the plane. And what we're doing is comparing travel, basically, to that vacation to retirement planning. More people spend more time planning that 2-week vacation than that 20-plus, 30-year retirement. So that's what we're talking about. We're comparing the two. So you think about it. All right, we've done all that pre-planning. So now we're ready to go. We're going to get on the plane. We're going to fly from here to the Bahamas. Well, think about it. More than likely, and there's an article in National Geographic that said turbulence is almost guaranteed, and it is a major source of anxiety for flyers. So you think about turbulence. What are some sources of turbulence, Rick, in retirement?
Very good question. When it comes to turbulence, there's so many areas. Number one, it could be market volatility and how the investments are structured in such a way that, and we said this on past shows, what good is it if you're pulling a 4% out of your investments to live on, the market's down 10, now you're down 14. Now going into next year, you need another 4% to live on, and now you're intensifying these losses. That's going to cause turbulence. That's going to cause anxiety because a proper income plan wasn't set up. The other thing is taxes. If we're not reviewing the taxes and we don't have a tax plan in place, then once again, we're doing things, by the seat of our pants, and now we're letting the government be in control as opposed to us be in control, as opposed to using strategies to minimize taxes. The other thing is healthcare costs. Hey, if somebody's retiring, prior to 65, healthcare costs are going to be dramatically different as opposed to when you are 65. The list can go on and on and on. God forbid one spouse predeceases the other. All of a sudden, we hit turbulence because we lost a portion of the pension check. We lose one of the Social Security checks. And to make matters worse, now that not only does income go down, but because now I'm filing single, potentially my tax rate may even go up. So there's so many different areas that you can hit turbulence in your financial planning, your investment planning, your retirement planning, that it's so important that you understand where the turbulent spots are for you and make sure you have a plan that can make sure that you kind of have a smooth ride all the way through. Because again, that's where if somebody sits down with us, we can actually pinpoint areas that they need to be aware of. So that way there is no surprises. Anything that happens, I can say, okay, I have a plan for this.
Yeah, and that's what I think your big picture blueprint that you create for people: income, investment, taxes, healthcare, legacy planning, Social Security, Medicare, all those decisions we have to make. Because turbulence in the skies when you're flying usually come from flying around the mountains or the jet streams or there are storms. Well, and the pilots know if there's a storm in the area, a lot of times they can, go around it. They don't have to go right through it. Sometimes it's under the pilot's control to get us away from that. That's kind of the same thing you're saying here. When it comes to some of the challenges in retirement, planning can kind of help alleviate some of that stress from some of the unknowns.
Absolutely. One of my clients is a pilot, and he was telling me, he's like, listen, he goes, when they get in those planes, I mean, they plan for every eventuality. There's nothing that's going to happen in that air or on that plane that they have not already prepared for and have contingencies for. And it was very interesting sitting down and talking to him. And it's the same way when it comes to your retirement planning here. When you sit down with somebody that specializes in this area, and I keep saying the word specializes in this area because there are some advisors, folks, and I want to make sure there's a clear distinction. There's some advisors out there that kind of deal with everybody. They'll take on the 25-year-old, the 30-year-old, all the way up to the 90-year-old. And they don't really specialize in the area. They kind of focus on, more picking investments in the market. When it comes to retirement planning, this is a specialized area. So if you want to make sure you're getting the best plan for you, and some of you out there might say, hey, listen, I'm already working with the broker, I'm already working with somebody, or I'm not sure they can really help me. It cannot hurt you at all to at least get a second opinion. And let's say you get that second opinion and it turns out that everything you're doing is absolutely correct and there's nothing that can be done to enhance your situation, then great. That's at least a good feeling that you're on the right track. You got solidification of that. But if there's some areas that you can maybe improve on or enhance, wouldn't you want to know that? And the only way to do that is to give us a call or somebody, a call to help you with that specialize in this area.
And you can do that. It's 800-700-1980, 800-700-1980. There is no cost to you. It's totally complimentary. Rick and the team at Safeguard are here to help. 800-700-1980. So here's the deal, though. When we get on a plane, and those tickets will tell us, here's when we're leaving, here's when we're arriving. But, Rick, are those guaranteed?
Never. Never.
Those are estimated. Those are ETAs, estimated
exactly.
time of arrival. Well, it's the same thing when we talk about longevity. It's one of the turbulence areas, really. We don't know how long we're going to be here. If we both live to 100, or if I live to 100, or if, whatever the scenario, we don't know what our destination time period is. We don't really know. So how do you help clients at Safeguard Investment Advisor Group, Rick, answer the longevity question? And then, obviously, the longer we're here, the more turbulence we're probably going to be affected by.
Absolutely. Because, one of the factors that we have to take in is based on somebody's longevity, inflation. That's a huge thing. We know medical costs are rising, which needs to be addressed in that situation. Long-term care. As we're living longer, doesn't necessarily mean that, we're going to be living, perfectly mobile lives. Maybe we need to, bring somebody in to come in and do some of the heavy lifting around the house that we can't do ourselves anymore because of a chronic issue. Maybe, a bad back or some other, scenario that you have going on. God forbid we get dementia or anything like that. I mean, there's all these different scenarios that come into play that cost money. Because one of the common things that I get from people is they'll say, well, as I get older, I won't be traveling as much, or I won't be doing this, that, and the other, and costs will actually go down. And in some aspects, they're correct, but in other aspects, they're wrong when it comes to medical spending. You can go through savings real quickly. So these are all things that we look at, and then we plan for this. I guess I want to make it easy for people listening. What we try to do for you is plan for the worst case scenario. So that way, if it occurs and we plan for it, we know you're going to be all right. If for some reason you live a perfectly healthy life all the way to age 100 and the market is up every day all the way to age 100 and everything goes, we don't need to worry about that. I know you're going to be okay under the best case scenario. What we do is we specialize on working on, hey, if the worst case scenario happens, are you going to be okay? And we actually will show you in black and white that you will. We can actually illustrate it out to you and create a plan so that way you have something tangible that you can see and that would allow you to sleep better at night.
Yeah, and Rick will tell you if you come in, 800-700-1980 is the number, 800-700-1980. He will tell you that he will give you 2 ideas that will enhance whatever it is you're currently doing to enhance your retirement. 800-700-1980. All right, final thing. And that is when you think about if you're traveling overseas, or maybe you're going somewhere you've never been, it's really wise to have a travel agent, somebody to help guide you. What can we do in that area? I don't know. I've never been there before. The travel agents are great at helping give you some guidance, right? Well, that's what Safeguard Investment Advisory Group is here for you and your retirement. Can you see the comparison between a travel agent for somebody that wants to travel and a retirement planner like you and Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, how important it is for retirees?
100%. Because you know what? Just like that travel agent is going to make everything as smooth as possible, they're going to help you mitigate mistakes or issues and make that trip as comfortable as possible. It's the same thing in retirement planning. By working with a professional that's seen everything, has gone through all the different stages of retirement, or seen worked with people all the different stages of retirement, they can basically help you get to point A to point B in the most straightest line as possible. It's kind of like when you're giving, advice to your kids. You've had these experiences in life, and you want to advise your kids on, the best route for them to help mitigate some of the mistakes they may make. Now they may listen to you, they may not, but you've been through it. You have the experience. Well, it's the same thing with this retirement planning. We have the experience, we have the expertise, and now we can actually show you strategies to get you from point A to point B in a straight line. That way we minimize the bumps and the potholes in the road, and you don't have to learn things the hard way, so to speak.
And if you would like to sit down with Rick Rivera and the team, you certainly can, 800-700-1980. But think about it. We spend a lot of time planning and pre-planning those 2-week vacations. That's 2 weeks. Why would you not spend some time planning that 20, 30-plus year retirement? If you're retired at 65, 20 years later, you're 85. I know a lot of people that have hit that. My mom's 86, still going. So maybe she's going to get, and she retired at 62, maybe she's going to have a 30-year retirement. Don't really know, right? So there's so many moving parts here. Why would you not take advantage of the opportunity to sit down with Rick Rivera and the team at Safeguard Investment Advisory Group? It's complimentary. There's no cost to you. The worst case scenario is you walk out of the office and you know where you stand in when it comes to retirement. But that also could be the best case. You got some clarity. You know where you are, what you need to do to be in a better position. Or, hey, I could already retire. So if the boss says something this week I don't like, Rick's already said I can retire when I want to. I'm retiring. Give Rick and the team a call. 800-700-1980. Totally complimentary. 800-700-1980. Rick, enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy your scuba diving down in the Bahamas. And we will chat again next week.
Great. Thanks so much, Mark.
Firm offers insurance services. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is a registered investment advisory firm. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the issuing carrier. This radio show is intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual situation. Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during this show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by Safeguard Investment Advisory Group, LLC.